YouTube. Today on the Naughty Librarian, I am doing my September wrap-up. So September was a bit of a rough month for me, reading-wise. I only read 9 books. I know, like, only 9? It's just usually I read more than that in a month. It's just this month in particular, I was reading lots of books that were bad, and it kind of really hindered me wanting to read a lot. Let's just get into it. As usual, I'm going to start with my best books and de-evolve into the worst books. First on my good books of the month list was Wallbanger by Alice Clayton. It's a kind of like enemies to lovers, well, more like enemies to friends and then friends to lovers story. It's the love story of Caroline and Simon. They are neighbors and they share a bedroom wall, and Simon has good times with ladies a lot, hence the Wallbanger. So he's just like all night. This was really charming, and it's kind of a slow burn as for smut, because they really don't, there's no sex really until like the end of the book. However, once they have sex, they just like bang each other's brains out till the end of the book. So you make up for lost time. Anyways, this was delightful. I had a lot of fun reading it. I recommend. The last good book I read this month was Now I Rise by Kirsten White. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It's so good. It's so good. Seriously, I have like a million boners for this book. So this is the sequel to And I Darken, and it is the story of Lada and Radu, who are both the children of Vlad Dracul. And basically, like, the world of this series is essentially Vlad the Impaler was a girl instead. Everything is really historically accurate as far as Mehmed II is the ruler of the Ottoman Empire and how he conquers Constantinople, because these things actually happened. It's kind of taking this historical fact and sensationalizing it with fiction. So I think it's really interesting. So this is told from dual perspective, as Lada goes back to Wallachia and she's trying to claim her throne. She wants to be Prince of Wallachia. She's very much on a mission to slay the patriarchy. I friggin' love her. She's like Buffy and Khaleesi made a baby. She's amazing. And it also follows her brother Radu, as he is kind of like a double agent in Constantinople. Both of these characters grow immensely throughout the book. They're so complex and fascinating, and I love it, seriously. Millions of boners for this. It's so good. What makes it really interesting and special is that this isn't necessarily a story where all the good guys win and all the bad guys are defeated, because there aren't really any good guys or bad guys. These are all just kind of gray area guys. It delves into a lot of what people are willing to risk to gain the power they want, and oftentimes people become their absolute worst selves in order to gain it. So it kind of goes further than that and like shows what consequences there are for becoming your worst self. So this is so friggin' good. Like, oh my gosh, it's so good. I recommend this series so much. Please read it. Alright, let's move on to the meh books. First up in the meh books is The Darkest Promise by Gina Showalter. I am a huge Gina Showalter fan. Like, I have read every book of her Lords of the Underworld series. I love it intensely, and sadly, this one kind of didn't live up to past glory. This is the story of Cameo and Lazarus. Cameo is the last of the original Lords of the Underworld to have her own happy ending, and Lazarus is a character we met in The Darkest Surrender, which, by the way, is my favorite book of the series. So, like, I was really excited to get this book because I liked both Cameo and Lazarus quite a bit. They were really cool in a lot of the other books of the series. My problem was, once they were the stars of the show in their own book, I did not like them as much. I thought they were much cooler in other books than they were in when they were main characters. I just couldn't connect to him as much as I wanted to. I felt like there were some missed opportunities for things that I thought maybe would have been really cool to see. Example, Strider's pretty much like the first friend that Lazarus ever makes, and now that Lazarus is back and he's in the same place as Strider, they like never talk to each other. They never even have a conversation. So I was really looking forward to that as a fan and a reader, and that just didn't happen, so it was kind of unfortunate. But it doesn't matter, because I'm going to read everything she puts out in this series because I love it so much, so one misstep won't put me off to it. Next in the meh books is Forbidden Nights of the Vampire by Carolyn Sparks. To be honest, this is like book 7 of this series, and I just randomly picked it up. Luckily, it was so well defined that like I was able to figure out the world that this takes place in very easily, so I didn't feel like I was particularly lost in the inner workings of this universe. So for that, I think Carolyn Sparks did a really good job as a writer because I was able to pick everything up. The only downside was this was like a very average, straightforward paranormal romance. Like, it wasn't anything I really hadn't seen before. It was just the usual. The smut wasn't really anything extraordinary. It was just like normal smut. Yeah, so it was just very like average. Just average vampires and werewolves banging, you know. Last in the meh books of the month is City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. Okay, hear me out. I read this book many years ago and I hated it, like hated. But so many people love this book, they love this series, they talk about it all the time. So I finally tried it again, and I'm glad I did. You know what? I liked it a whole lot better the second time than I did the first time. The only thing is, it is so basic. It's like the most like cliche YA paranormal romance that there ever was. It has like all of those normal tropes like in like spades. Like, first of all, you got, you know, the average girl who becomes the chosen one, and that's Clary because she's like an average normal girl, and then she realizes, oh no, I'm a shadow hunter, I can do stuff. Blah. Trope 2, this same girl does not consider herself to be beautiful, and yet she has 2 hot dudes like drooling over her. Like, Clary, girl, come on. Like, don't be like that. 3, there's an obligatory love triangle, because of course there is. It's you know, nice guy best friend Simon, and then like broody bad boy Jace. And realistically, you could just swap out both of those names with any other name from any other series, and it's the same exact idea. The last trope, the one true pairing, or OTP as we call it in the book world, is torn apart for some stupid reason. This book has been out long enough and there's movies and TV shows that it's not a spoiler, okay? Jace and Clary are told that they're siblings. So, Cassandra Clare decided to go like the incest route. I'm not sure why like incest was the idea that she ran with. There's a lot of ideas in the world. But she was like, nope, brother and sister, done. But the thing is, when you find that out, it's like not a twist. It's not compelling because there are 5 other books of this series, and you know Jace and Clary are love interests in all of them, so obviously they're not brother and sister. Because I mean, what? Is Cassandra Clare gonna write 6 books about a brother and sister trying to fuck each other? I highly doubt it. It's just that the whole incest angle, it's so bothersome to me. Like, ew, why? You don't want to root for them to be together because they're allegedly related. And side note, how hard is it to get a DNA test? Like, this could be solved in like a day. Like, okay, I get it, you have like special blood and you can't have doctors touch it or whatever, but I mean, they just have to swab your cheek to find that out. What, are there no scientists or doctors in the shadow hunter community that could do this? Like, this is like an easy fucking fix, and like they don't do it, and I'm like, why? Why are you putting me through this? Why make brothers and sisters all fuck each other? I don't get it. So yes, that was a big problem I had the first time through, and I still have the same problem now, but after reading the whole book again, I did not mind the rest of it as much. So I would continue with the series. We'll see. So I read a lot of bad books this month. Like a lot. Yeah, a lot of bad books. I read enough books that I'm making its own special video so they can have their own space where they could just suffer together. Woo! Mm. This goblet doesn't hold as much wine as usual. I need more wine. Okay guys, that is a wrap of all the books I read in September. Please let me know down below, have you read any of these books? Which ones were your favorites? Which ones were your least favorites? I hope you liked this video, and if you did like it, make sure you give it a like. And if you'd like to see more videos, make sure you subscribe. And I will see you guys soon. Bye!